Ready to go. Hey guys, welcome to everyone, to all the newly appointed VICSWIM teachers out there for 2022, and welcome back to all the returning teachers. It's great to see so many of you coming back year after year to teach this amazing program. Being a VICSWIM teacher is both rewarding and enjoyable, and you guys are the ones that put the big smiles on all the kids' faces and make a difference for this program. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about me, because this is my first year managing the VICSWIM program. I do have over 20 years experience in the aquatic and recreation industry, and I started out as a swim teacher and have moved through the ranks managing a variety of swim schools, including large centres and small swim schools for the last 15 to 20 years. So this program is all about the teachers and the kids. So in order to have a successful program, we need to ensure that our frontline workers, that's you guys, all the teachers out there, are well equipped to deliver a quality and enjoyable program. So we want the participants to learn and progress and gain aquatic knowledge as well as have fun. So most importantly, we want to set all the teachers up to succeed. We want every teacher out there, that's all of you guys, to strive to be the best, to be engaging, to care, and to put a smile on every kid's face. So after another COVID impacted year, the majority of the kids that will be joining the program haven't had swimming lessons since the last VICSWIM program. So we expect them to be a little rusty with their skills and wobbly with their confidence at the start of the program. But after 5 days of intensive learning and fun games in the water, we can provide these kids with the basic skills and knowledge they need to be safe in and around the water. We have secured a record number of 200 host venues for January across the state, with the majority of these being regional, where families have limited access to regular swimming lessons throughout the year. We have 184 pool venues, both indoor and outdoor, in addition to 4 inland waterways and 12 open water beaches. We hit 17,000 enrolments overnight, and we're anticipating to get close to 20,000 by the time the program commences. So we couldn't do that. We couldn't run the program without all of you teachers. So thank you for joining us, okay, and for being here today. It's a great effort by a huge team that we have working behind the scenes here at VICSWIM, putting many hours in, putting schedules together, rosters together, and recruiting teachers. We'll come back to that, but I just want to mention to all of you out there, if any of you know anyone that wants to be a swim teacher, please make sure they get in touch with us, because we're still desperate to find teachers for a few of our venues. I'm just going to give you a little bit more background information before I throw it over to Kathy, who is our CEO at ARV. So for those of you joining us for the first time, the VICSWIM program is a government-funded program, okay? So the aim is that we're providing a low-cost aquatic education and water safety program to as many young swimmers as we can across the state. The program has been running since 1976, and VICSWIM seeks to ensure that all Victorians have the opportunity to access these lessons and water safety education to maximise safety and attitudes, ensuring confidence and the ability to enjoy the aquatic environment. The cost of the program for a family is $35 for 5 days, and that's thanks to the substantial funding provided by our Victorian government. So on that note now, I'm going to pass it over to Kathy. I'm just going to step out the way, and I'll join you shortly, guys.
Hello, it's a shame I can't see you, but welcome to today and welcome to VICSWIM. It's great to have you all as part of VICSWIM 2022, and as Lisa said, I welcome all of you who are new to the program and all of you who have participated in the program for many years. It's great to have you now as ARV employees for the summer period. You are now becoming a member of a very special club, and as Lisa said, this VICSWIM program and the teaching club has been going for now over 40 years, so it's quite a special place to be. Lisa's also, she's actually stolen a lot of my thunder, to be honest, but the VICSWIM program is a unique water safety and education program, and you know there's nothing else like it. in how, you know, in a very short time we scale up such a large workforce to deliver a program across so many locations within Victoria, inland, open water and within aquatic facilities. We've had another unprecedented year leading into this program. Those who've been involved previously will know just over the last few years we've had to tackle bushfires, floods and last year COVID. Whilst COVID isn't impacting us as much this year, it is still around and certainly something for us to be mindful of. Our biggest issue this year is our workforce issue. So as Lisa said, you know, we're so grateful for all of you to join us in participating in this program, and we encourage you to really put out the word to any friends, relatives, people you know who are qualified or not qualified even to be able to come and work with us this year. And as Lisa said, it's also quite unusual and unprecedented that we have had another year of children not being able to attend swimming classes. So the importance of this program, you know, is just strengthened. On a positive note, as Lisa said, you know, we have got some outstanding numbers, both enrolments and venues and teachers to date. So, you know, that's fabulous. This program is loved by all. I've been so impressed with coming into the role that I have to see generations now of families who participate in the program. You know, we get people ringing the office to say, you know, they're a grandparent of a child who's going to participate and their children attended and even they attended as children. So anyway, enough from me today. You are going to be briefed on a whole range of things to assist you in being the best swim teacher you can be in the program. Lisa is going to help to outline for you the expectations we have of you, the resources that have been established to assist you, inform you regarding what to expect of your teacher journey, and there's going to be a real opportunity for you to ask questions. So thank you again from me and from the ARV team to you. I'm looking forward to seeing you and visiting some of the sites over January and getting to actually see you in action. That's going to be great. So let's hope for good weather and, you know, the participation numbers to continue. So thank you, and I'm going to hand back to Lisa. Okay, see you later.
Thanks, Kathy. All right, so now you got me for a while, guys, and hopefully we'll get through some important stuff. And like Kathy said, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for you to ask questions at the end of the program. So we'll start with, again, we're going to welcome everyone to 2022. I did mention a little bit about myself before, so we can skip those these slides. I've told you I've got quite a background, and I'm very passionate about swimming, both open water and pool swimming. So that is a place that you will always find me by the water. Let's start with our VICSWIM teacher journey. Okay, by now we've hit December. Obviously you should have all received your contracts. That's why we've got you all in here. You should have all uploaded all your qualifications and everything on Employment Hero. We're going to get to that soon, and I've got some screenshots to help those of you not sure what to do there. But at this stage, you should all be in a position where you're starting to get ready, plan your lessons, be able to print off your class lists and be ready to teach. So let's start with a little bit of the objectives of what our program is. Well, I'm just going to talk, we talked about enrolment numbers and things like that before. So we're going to get into the program overview, guys. The aim of the program is to facilitate the learning of swimming and survival skills in a safe aquatic environment, okay, to develop water awareness and skill-based competencies, okay, to provide educational experience for all participants, and to develop sound, correct and efficient swimming technique. And most importantly, we want the kids to have fun. The program is aimed at the 4 to 12-year-olds, okay, so minimum age 4, maximum age of 12. We have 7 levels across the program, okay? And we have divided those levels into pool-based, open water-based and inland water-based program, and all this information is going to be available for you to access on Employment Hero. So you can feel free to take notes, but we'll just get through things. So let's talk about the program's going to run, just come back one sec. The program's going to run for 5 days, like we said, Monday to Friday. The same kids will come to your classes every day. The lessons are 30 minutes, and there is a 5-minute break between all classes to allow ample time for handover of kids, students back to their parents. So we shouldn't have any parents complaining about that taking up time in their lessons. We've got 24 regional coordinators looking after a number of venues in your area, and as teachers, I believe all your regional coordinators would have made contact with you by now. If they haven't, they will be by the end of this week. We've got 1 or 2 regions without regional coordinators, so in the meantime, I will be your point of contact. And if anyone wants to put up their hand or know more about that role, we can discuss that later today after the meeting. I thought we'd start with going through some teaching techniques and strategies. So we'll talk about working in group in patterns. It would be really great to think that across the 200 venues that the VICSWIM program would run really similarly no matter what venue you walked into. So if I walked into a venue in Benalla or Bendigo or somewhere in inner Melbourne, I'd like to think that, you know, you see your VICSWIM teachers there in their beautiful green and blue rashies. We've got brand new ones this year for you guys. You'll all be getting uniforms if you haven't already. That they're going to be running the same program no matter where you go. So to help you out here, we've got a few patterns that we've put together. Again, all this information is available in the teacher handbook that we're going to ask you all to have a look at anyway at some point before the program starts. With your lower beginner groups, it's probably best to have all your kids sitting together like you see in the next screen here. You've got your teacher facing everyone, all your little happy smiling kids looking at you, and they're coming out and swimming to you one at a time. In your level A and B, they're going to need a fair bit of assistance, so you want to make sure you keep a short distance between you and your kids. All right, it's important to accept that, you know, the kids' development and their skill level is going to vary even within your same class. Your lessons need to be well planned to ensure that your kids have the maximum opportunity to progress with effectiveness and efficiency. And your classes should be structured to accentuate the continuous movement of your kids. And that means we don't want your kids standing around doing nothing for a really long time. Okay, so we can work groups like you see in the picture here. You've got triangle pattern. You can get them going around in the square. You can get them, okay, as long as the teacher has view of all kids at all times and the kids are moving as much as possible. Remember, by the time they get to level C, they should be reasonably independent in the water and able to swim the few meters out to you. Please be aware of the distances that are suggested and outlined in your criteria, because we don't want to extend the kids swimming beyond what they can do. All right, so with the different levels of your kids, probably a good idea to send out sometimes your slower swimmers first during a distance swim in your higher levels, just so that to ensure that the faster swimmers don't finish everything so quickly and spend too much time standing around having to wait. Otherwise, you can get your faster swimmers actually swimming more, just so that they keep moving. Right. Other things to consider when you're teaching, we'll keep going through the slides as we talk. Other things to consider will be the depth of the water to ensure that it's suitable for your levels. Now, there will be obviously in your open water and your inland waters where your kids can't touch the bottom, and we'll have one of our RCs, Marie, come in and talk a little bit more about that later. But no matter the situation, the focus remains the same, okay? Keeping the group active and moving while still being in a position to provide individual attention to all your students where necessary. So coming back to the depth, make sure the depth is as suitable as possible. We would like the kids to be able to touch the bottom, but that's not always going to be the case. And you use platforms in deeper water where you can. Like I said, that's not an option in your open waters. Consider your positioning and your formation of the class, all right? Ensure that you are close to your kids, that if need be, you can reach out to them, okay? That they can hear you and you can hear them. making eye contact with your kids, okay? So they know you're listening to them and you can see they're listening to you. Make sure there's enough room for every student to practice their skills, okay? Whether they're doing it on the side of the pool or standing in the water. You don't want them practicing those arms and whacking each other and knocking each other over. And one really important rule that I want you all to remember is to never turn your back on your class, okay? So you've got to try and use your peripheral vision at all times. Remember, for the 30 minutes of the lesson that those kids are under your duty of care, you're responsible for what happens to them in the pool during that time. And that's why the distance that they swim is so important. The distance needs to match the level that they're at, okay? So kids get fatigued quite easily. So when we're teaching them the early stages, okay, we only want them to swim over short distances. As they get tired and start to swim beyond what they're capable of, their technique, really fades away, and then they start developing bad habits just so that they can reach the end of the pool. So lots of repetition over shorter distances to allow for technique correction, okay, and offsetting the onset of fatigue. So we're really looking forward to working towards efficient technique, conserving energy, and then in the higher levels, working on endurance. All right, remember that we don't want kids standing around waiting for their turn. All right, we should attempt to work the children at all times. We should concentrate on their weaknesses to try and improve them. Okay, and we should ensure, I've said it before, that they are in full view of the teacher at all times. So never turn your back and use your peripheral vision. When we talk about planning, okay, so we're planning a lesson. We said before, children should only swim short distances while they're learning a skill. They should be able to see and hear you at all times. When it comes to planning your lesson, consider revision of previous skills, teaching of a new skill, the application of that new skill. So coming up with drills and ideas, and this is a forum where I'm happy for all of you teachers to share some ideas, but you can teach the same skill using many, many different drills, and that's repetition without being boring for the kids. And of course, we want to use games, all right? The introduction of games as part of learning is something that is really encouraging for kids and will keep them interested and involved. So make sure that you've got an objective with your games and that you know what we're going to learn. So you might say to the kids something like, today we're going to learn breaststroke kick. And then you're going to obviously introduce that, but you're still going to be focusing on some previous skills. We want the activities to be enjoyable. Oh, I can do that. All good. Oops. We want the activities to be enjoyable from beginning to end, okay? The more fun the kids have, the more they're going to learn and the more they're going to want to keep coming back with a great attitude every day. And they're going to get to know you and love you as your teachers. So we want you to be positive and encouraging, all right? Children are more likely to respond to you when you give them positive feedback and encouragement than when you let them know things that they can't do. So what you might say to them is, that was great kicking. Okay, you might want to, let's try and move your head to this position or something like that. So let's always look at a positive angle when it comes to feedback to the kids. Be clear and concise with your instructions. Okay, so use a language that is really simple and easy for the young kids to understand. So you might, in the open water, you might use the terms rough or wavy for the water rather than use a word like turbulence. Okay, so obviously suitable language for the kids is really, really important. Be professional. Being professional is part of obviously coming dressed in correct uniform and looking professional in that respect, but the way you speak to the kids, the way you speak to the parents and approach them, having your lessons planned, your lesson plans written out, the class list written out so you know your kids' names, making sure you arrive on time, in fact early to your venue, making sure you've got all your equipment. Okay, so we're going to go through all those things again, but you guys are going to have your own checklist to make sure that when you turn up to the lesson, you are well prepared to teach those classes. I touched on before that the kids might not all be in the same level in a group, so it's really important that you progress according to the child. If there's one or two kids experiencing difficulty mastering a particular skill progression, keep going back to that skill with those kids. The ones who have got it, you can extend them, but we really want everyone in the group to be able to master those skills and tick off all the boxes at the end of the program. Use demonstrations and available aids. Yeah, we talked about it. Sorry. So using demonstrations and available aids. Okay, so that is demonstrating yourself with your arms. You can use the students in the class to demonstrate. If you've got a kid in there that knows how to do a certain skill really well, you can get them to show the class, and hopefully you'll have a mix of kids where everyone's going to be good at something different, so each kid gets a chance to demonstrate. Try and share that around and share the confidence among the kids. Again, you know, when you're giving the instructions, make sure that you're appropriate in your manner with the kids, okay? So you keep your group close together so that they can all hear you and understand you. And that you know that they're looking at you and listening, because if they're not looking at you and they're looking away, they're distracted and they're not going to understand what you want them to do. So you'll be giving them verbal instructions and you'll be giving them demonstrations so they understand what they're going to do. When it comes to working with different skills in a level within a class, there's a few ways that you can look at it. And you'll probably find in the larger metropolitan pools and the regional areas, you will get a fair mix of levels. Often parents will book their kids in to a same class at the same time for convenience, even if they're not at the same level. So you'll identify those issues on the first day of the program. Okay, when it comes to working with the different skills, just extend the kids that are able to do more and extend them further. And like I said, you're going to work on the weaknesses of the students that aren't as capable, so that they can improve those skills to reach the level that you're trying to teach. So you can subdivide your group based on ability. So if you've got a group of 6 kids, you might have 2 or 3 of them at one level, 2 or 3 of them at another level, and you might be sending them out different distances, doing different drills to work with their skills. We want to be challenging every student in our class and engaging to keep it interesting. Otherwise, they're going to go home and tell mum it was boring and they don't want to come back the next day, and we don't want to see that happen. So that will bring us on to the next point, where liaising with parents. Okay, guys, parents always want to know how their kids are doing. While the students are in your class, they're your number one priority. You have a responsibility and a duty of care to those kids. So any liaising with parents is to be done at the end of a lesson. You've only got 5 minutes to hand over your students. So where there is a teacher in charge or a first day administrator at the larger venues, okay, you can refer the parents to those people. For any other information, the parents can ask you in between lessons. But all children will be receiving e-certificates, and you'll be updating what skills they can and can't do before or by the end of the program. So we don't want parents sitting on the edge of the pool taking away your time from teaching. Now, when it comes to the handover, parents sign off on terms and conditions when they book their children into the program, and they agree to stay at the venue at all times and make sure that their children are within their sight and their view at all times. So that is a duty of care on the parent side, that this is not babysitting, so they're not dropping their kids off for us to look after for half an hour, and at the end of the class the parents aren't there. The parent needs to be there. In a case where, and it may happen, where you can't find the parent at the end of the lesson, if you're at a venue where there's a duty manager, then you let them take the child and find the parent. And in the case where you're the sole teacher or there may not be anyone else at your venue, then you keep that child with you sitting on the edge of the water until their parent turns up, even if that takes you into the next lesson. You don't let any children go without seeing that they are going straight to their parents, guys. Okay, so we want to make sure that the parent knows that what their role is, and their role is to be responsible for the child that they bring to the centre. So they have to be there at all times supervising their child. When it comes to the communication, we've mentioned this a few times before, but you probably need to repeat yourself quite a bit with the kids. So you might, say to them, kick, 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 and you might say it 6 times because that's what you want them to do. You might count with them the strokes until you want them to breathe for freestyle. The more repetitive you are with them and the less words you use, the better that kids understand those instructions. So together with your verbal instructions, okay, you're also going to have your non-verbal instructions, and that is your demonstrations and showing them what to do, the tone that you use, okay, and as I said, using other swimmers in the group who know how to perform a skill or a drill and getting them to demonstrate to the rest of the class. When it comes to your attitude, okay, just be relaxed, feel confident even if you're not, come across as being confident, and be positive at all times. Okay, the more positive you are with the kids, the better they're going to respond to you. With feedback, again, make sure it's as positive as it can be. Try and focus on all the positive aspects of your student. But when you do focus on a positive and you want them to work on a negative, then you can just say to them, that was great kicking, or, you know, let's try and lift your arm up higher, so that you instilling in them what you want them to work on, but you're also encouraging them with the things that they can do really well. We all respond much better to positive feedback. And this is going to help your students, okay, with their skill progression. If you have well-planned lessons where you set out that you're going to be going over repeated known skills that the kids already know, and then introducing a new skill, okay, and practicing skills that they know, and you've got set out that you're going to spend 5 or 10 minutes at each skill, then you know you're going to get through that lesson without having any time spare at the end where you're not sure what to do. And you can repeat, as I said, you can teach a skill doing many different drills. So it's important that we understand the way our swimmers learn and the way kids think and learn. So there's a few ways of doing this, and we'll come to that again in a second. Probably the easiest way for kids to learn is visually, because especially in the aquatic environment, they can see what you're doing for them. Auditory is another way of learning, by hearing and asking questions. Now, listening to instructions in an aquatic environment can be really difficult, hence why we want to be very close to the students when we talk to them and very clear with what we're trying to say and very brief. Okay, the other way of learning for kids is very much out of touching and playing. Okay, so you might need to help them by saying to them, I'm just going to take your arm and I'm going to help you lift it over your head. I suggest that whenever you're going to put your hands on a student, you let them know in advance that you're going to do that, why you're going to do that, and what you're going to do, okay, for a number of reasons, but it's also going to set their mind at ease and have trust and confidence in you that you're grabbing them and that you're not going to harm them or hurt them in any way, that you're there to help them, because you want to build trust with your kids. Some of the older kids are probably going to want to know things like how quick they swam, what they need to do to improve. So that's a form of data learning, and that feedback is really important for the kids as well. So we talked about, you know, building trust and understanding the way your kids learn, because we want to prevent boredom. It's really important also that we show a lot of patience and perseverance. Okay, as an instructor, you need to have patience and perseverance just to keep repeating the activities and skills and instructions while continuing to be engaging and productive. So not all kids in the class are going to learn at the same time, but all the skills are learned through repetition until the skills become automatic. Okay, so swimmers will have good days and bad days, okay, and they're going to have days when they're not necessarily connected to their learning. So hopefully over the time that you spend with the kids, you'll pick up on that every day that they turn up. So just remember to have a lot of patience and to build trust with your kids, okay, because it can be really scary for some of these young kids coming to a venue they've never been to before, coming in contact with kids that they don't know, and obviously a teacher that they don't know. So establish some small talk with the kids. Ask them how their Christmas was, okay? Ask them what Santa brought them for Christmas. Ask them what they've been doing in their school holidays, what they love about swimming, all right? So you're going to find a way to connect and develop a relationship with the kids. And most importantly is you want to have fun. So having fun is something that you want to do as teachers, and you also we want our kids to have fun. All right, so just bear all that in mind as you're in the lessons. I want to run through some of the technical stuff with you guys, how to log into the teaching portal and Employment Hero. So logging into the teacher portal, which is the booking.vicswim.com.au. That's the portal where all the families book their kids into. It's a portal where we can see all the venues, and that's the portal where the teachers are going to access their class list. So you enter your email and your password. For those of you that have taught before, that wouldn't change. If you can't remember your password, you can hit the forgot password button and you'll get an email that'll take you to a link where you can reset your password. For all new teachers, it's a generic password, VICSWIM 2022. I believe it's all lowercase, and that is your new password, and you can go in also and reset your own password. You all need to log on to this website, booking.vicswim.com.au, because that is where you're going to access and print your own class list so you know who you'll be teaching throughout the program. On day one, let's have a look at the printing instructions, guys. So it's pretty simple here. When you log into the portal, you'll see you can log in to the venue that you'll see the venue that you're teaching. You simply hit the button here that says class list, and once you click on that class list, it'll take you to your classes, and then you simply print it. Okay, so while we're in this portal, this is the same place where you're going to mark off the skills that the students have achieved throughout the week. So for those of you that have taught before, you'd be aware that on the last day, you handed over physical certificates to the kids. This year, we're not handing over physical certificates. It's all going to be e-certificates. But so the kids get something at the end of their week for participating, there's going to be stickers available for all your kids. Now we're waiting, these stickers are being printed as we speak, and as soon as they come in, they will be distributed to all the regional coordinators, who will then ensure that all the teachers have enough stickers to hand out to all their kids at the end of the program. But the e-certificate process is really simple. So here on the VICSWIM portal, where you've printed your class list, you're also going to put the skills that your kids know. So where we saw the class list button before, next to it on the right hand side, you've got e-certificate. You simply hit that button, and then you'll see, depending on the level, all the skills are marked out under every student's name individually, and all you need to do is go and tick the box on whether they have achieved that skill or not. So you'll find that at every level, the kids should achieve at least half their skills. But please make sure they're consistent when it comes to being able to kick for 5 meters on their back with an aid and their ears in the water, that they are in that horizontal body position. Otherwise, you'll tick them off as having that skill, but then they're really not going to be able to do it. And then they're going to start, they'll look at jumping up a level when they're probably not ready for it. So let's be realistic about how you mark off the kids' skills, but obviously we'll want to show them what they've achieved, and parents like to see this, obviously. They want to know what their kids have achieved throughout the 5 days of the VICSWIM program. So on the Friday, or even daily, if you feel that you're checking off different skills, when you jump into the portal, just mark off the skills that each kid can do. And then that automatically, once you save it at the end of the program, that will automatically send out the certificates to the parents. If we jump on to, if you have any questions about the VICSWIM's portal, you can feel free to send them through the chat box or come back to me at the end, because I know I'm trying to get through things here pretty quickly, but I don't want it to be too boring for you guys, and want you to follow what's going on here. So we've talked about the VICSWIM portal. That's where you access your classes. I want to talk a bit about Employment Hero. Now, all of you have received your contracts and everything through Employment Hero, so you should all be aware of what that is. When you receive your contract, you receive your login details and everything like that on Employment Hero. So when you log in, you can see your own profile. The page comes up a bit like this. You've got your dashboard here. You've got your profile, which is where you're going to set up all your important details, okay, about yourself. And probably the important things to consider here, making sure that we have your bank details, your superannuation details, and your tax details. Without that information, guys, you can't get paid. Okay, so you need to make sure that all that information is up to date in Employment Hero. I am aware that some of you are having trouble uploading your superannuation details. Any difficulty you have or uploading any information, please email us at info@vicswim.com.au. Raina is more than happy to help you out there and get that information in for you. But just remember, without that information, you can't get paid. So all that information is put in to your profile. If you scroll down on your profile, you've got another box here that says certifications. Okay, we're highlighting that one down here. This is where you need to make sure that all your qualifications are up to date and uploaded in the system. So that is your swim teacher qualification, your CPR, your working with children's check, and your COVID-19 vaccination status. Those 4 qualifications are mandatory, and every teacher out there needs to make sure that that information is up to date and uploaded in Employment Hero. For those of you that are doing lifeguarding, obviously we will need to have your lifeguarding qualifications. For those of you working in open water or inland water, there's your community surf and inland waterway certifications that also need to be uploaded. All that information needs to be present and up to date in Employment Hero. I just want to have a look. So the certification upload is pretty simple. When you hit the button, you just have a box that comes up like this, and you've literally got to click or drag your file in there, and then it should appear in there showing that the date that you've loaded it, and then you just hit save, and that's all you need to do. Again, guys, if you're having any trouble with any of that information, we are available to you. Probably best to email us because the phones get pretty busy in here. But email us info@vicswim.com.au and let us know what you're having trouble with, and we should be able to help you out with that information. All right, so make sure that you have, again, all the boxes on the left will come up and let you know what's complete and what's incomplete as far as your profile goes. But the important details are your banking details, your superannuation, your tax declaration to get paid, and all your certification. When it comes to reading all the policies and all the documents that are in Employment Hero, and that's something that you're all going to have to do today after this webinar, there is a teacher handbook that is going to be accessible for everyone to read, and that's going to have quite a few links in there taking you to the different policies that we want you to read, whether about heat policy, wet and cold policy, inland, outdoor, inland and open waters, reporting of incidents. There is a list for you to have a look and tick off that you've read all those policies, and all that is available under the box that says Files and My Documents and Policies. And again, once you've read them all, the status will come up as finished, and we'll know and you'll know that you've read that information, and that's going to prepare you for a successful week of teaching the VICSWIM program. I guess the next important thing for all you guys is your timesheets and how to get paid. So make sure, okay, the timesheets actually have to be done daily, all right, and venue by venue. So when you jump on, you hit the timesheet button, you'll come up with this screen here, you add a timesheet, and in the box here you can see you need to put the date that you worked. So let's say you worked the first day of the program, you'll put the 3rd of the 1st, 2022, your start time and end time. Now, some of you are working 2 venues in a day. If you work 9 till 12 in the morning at one venue and then 1 till 4 in the afternoon at another venue, you've got to put in 2 separate timesheets. Your start time, your end time, the work type, you are swim teachers or sole teacher or teacher in charge. Those options will come up under the work type, and the cost centre, I believe, will be the same for all of you. If you work a long day, and there's not many of you that are doing that, some of you might be working at one venue and doing a program from 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. We have allocated you a half an hour break along the day. You simply add that break in here. so that's adjusted, because you can't work more than 5 hours without a break anyway, but that will just update in your timesheets. And what we'd like you all to add in the comments to make it easier for us to authorise your timesheets for you is just to put the name of the venue that you worked at. So if it's, you don't have to put the full name. You know, if you're working at Bass Coast, you're at Bass Coast. If you're working at Marutna, it's Marutna, or Winchelsea, or whatever it is, Ocean Grove, Open Water. If you put the name of the venue in the comments at the bottom, it's really going to help authorise your timesheets and make our job at this end a lot quicker, because then we know we can allocate you. So I can see that someone's asked a question: if you're under 18, you don't need a Working with Children's check. Everyone needs a Working with Children's check to work in this program, even if you're under 18. In fact, across the aquatic industry now, you all need a Working with Children's check. It's valid for 3 years and everyone needs to have one. So we talked about the class list and how to print them off before. I just want to touch a little bit on this teacher handbook, guys. The teacher handbook is now readily available, or not readily available, it's now been uploaded and available for you to read in Employment Hero. And once you go through the teacher handbook, as I said, it's going to take you to various documents about certain policies. And at the completion of reading the handbook, you're going to be asked to complete a series of questions just that we want you to answer to ensure that you are well prepared for the program. So once I believe that all that information is currently available in Employment Hero, and we ask that you all do that obviously prior to teaching the first week of the program. We'll be running reports to see who has and who hasn't completed the module and the handbook, and we'll be sending you prompts and reminders to continue to do that, or to make sure you complete that information. If you don't read the handbook and you don't know about all the policies, you're not going to feel confident and prepared for your first day of teaching. So please make sure you do, and if you have any questions regarding that, please let me know so that we can follow that up for you. I just want to touch a little bit on COVID safety and what you've got to do. Look, COVID safety it's become part of our lives at the moment. Obviously, a lot of parents and guardians out there have been asking about vaccination. If anyone asks you about vaccination, we follow whatever the government guidelines are. COVID safety from a teacher's perspective is making sure you just wipe down your equipment and keep it clean. I mean, we are working in an aquatic environment where the chlorine is going to kill pretty much any germs. If you're outdoors and in the open water, obviously there is less risk. The open water venues have their own QR codes, and obviously all the pool venues have QR codes where people are going to be checking in. So if there is ever a suspected case or any information there, DHHS are going to contact us, and we just follow the guidelines from there. So it really shouldn't intervene or impact our program, other than if a venue needs to shut down for a day to clean because they may have had a suspected case. So if there's any further questions about COVID stuff, again, just come back to us. You can ask them in the chat box here, or you can send through emails, and we'll be able to let you know and follow up answers for you if we don't know them. Let's get you ready for day one of the program, guys, okay? Day one's a big day, and that's day one of each week, all right? The kids come for 5 days, so you've got 3 weeks. So you've got 3 day ones. You've got to turn up on day one. We want you to be 30 minutes early, all right? And the reason we ask you to get there early is so that you know that you can plan where to park. You have, where to get your equipment, where you're actually teaching, where you're setting up your VICSWIM handover and meeting point where you're going to have the parents drop off and pick up their kids at the end of each lesson. You need to allow yourself enough time that you're not rushing. And I even recommend, for those of you who are teaching at a venue that you've never been at before, that you might want to visit that venue before day one. Okay, so we all want to be there before the students. So remember, class list printed, lesson plans laminated or in plastic pockets or whatever, all right? And know where you're going, know where you're parking, and make sure you've got your uniform, all your equipment and everything ready to go. I want to touch a little bit on the pool criteria, not too much. We've got 6 levels in the program, and basically, sorry, we've got 7 levels in the program. Basically, your levels A and B are beginners, and like I said before, your kids aren't going to be swimming more than 5 meters at these levels. You're going to be able to, you shouldn't be standing more than a few meters away from your kids so that you are ready to help them and grab them and at any time that is need be, and control that class environment. At these levels, you're going to have a maximum of 4 kids in a class. Okay, I'm not going to go through each skill, but again, the pool criteria, or all the criteria, is available in Employment Hero, not just what the kids need to achieve, but we've also got some basic lesson plans and skills and drills for you to use. And we're happy for all the teachers to share any of their ideas when it comes to that anyway. When it comes to, where was I up to? So yes, so we have a quick look through levels A and B. Your kids aren't going to be really doing much other than getting confident and learning to become independent in the water, starting to use their arms and kicking, but we're not going to be focused on efficient technique at this point, but rather the ability to float and be comfortable putting your face in the water and moving 3 to 5 meters through the water independently. Level C and D, we are establishing basic strokes, okay? So we're really focused on teaching backstroke and freestyle. By the end of level D, we want the kids being able to swim 15 metres using efficient technique, which includes your side breathing. And we're also going to be introducing your survival backstroke kick or breaststroke kick by the end of level D. It's not an age-based program, but you'll find that obviously your 4, 5 and 6-year-olds are more likely to be in your levels A and B. 6, 7, 8-year-olds are going to be in your C and D. And then as you get to E and F and level G at the end, obviously these kids are already able to swim 25 metres. The majority of them are going to be 8 and above. But you still are going to have a range. You could have an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old in the same group. So just make sure that when you speak to them, that you're using appropriate language that's going to be suitable for everyone. You might have to repeat your instructions a few times just to make sure you get that message across. I'm going to allow everyone has the ability to look at these skills in Employment Hero and make sure that they understand what they're teaching at each level. Again, if you have any questions down the track, feel free to ask them. I am going to pass you on to our RC Marie very shortly, as she is looking after, she's got a lot of experience with the inland waterways, and we'll be talking a little bit about inland and open waterways with you guys, because it's a little bit different to the pool program. So we're just going to get her online, and here she is. So Marie, I welcome you. I'm going to let you talk a little bit about open water, inland water, and then we'll come back to me to finish up. Okay, just hold on, Marie, because I don't think we can hear you. Okay, Marie?
Yep. You can hear me now?
Absolutely, loud and clear.
Okay, very good. All right, so, yep, I'm just really talking about the open water. That's where I'm the RC for this year. But also I've been in contact with Gillian, who is down in Torquay, and she's got lots of experience with beaches. So a lot of this information's come from her with, and she's got many years with VICSWIM. I myself have only been involved in VICSWIM for 1 year. I've been swimming for many, many years and recently sold a swim school that I had started in regional Victoria. But last year was my first year of being involved as an instructor. And that was teaching with the inland waterways, which is my forte. I love inland waterways, and I compete in open water, you know, pier to pub and beach, other beach ones, and the inland ones as well, and regularly participate in a Murray River swim distant group that we've got going here at the Murray River. So that's just a little bit about me. I love the open water swimming. So swimming in the open water is very different to swimming in pools, of course, you all know that, but just be mindful, you might get a child who has, say, passed level C in the pool, but then they come to the open water and they're totally out of their comfort zone and they're only a level B. And it's important to convey that message to children and parents as well, because they get a bit disheartened and think, oh, my child's gone backwards. They haven't actually gone backwards. It's just because it's a different environment. And we want to give them the experience of swimming in a different environment. And, like I've said it many times, that kids just, you put them in a different environment. And then you'll even notice that for kids that have been swimming just in heated pools to then they go swimming in a non-heated pool. But, like at the beach, you've got sand and you've got undertow, you've got seaweed, etc. Inland waterways, the water is often murky, it's cold, and it may have reeds growing right up through the top of the water, so you've actually got to plough yourself through it to get through it. And that's just to name a few. Inland lessons at beaches is about helping children, and often parents become more comfortable in the situations. So children will be made aware of water conditions and safer entry points before they even get in. So, e.g., to swim at patrolled beaches if they can. Inland could have boat ramps or steep slopes, and so you aim for children to become more confident in the waves and around reeds, seaweed, beware of rocks, holes, surfers, and just other marine life and wildlife, really. So it could be, we hope we don't get any snakes, but like a little girl last year was scared of ducks that were behind me, and she was freaking out there was something in the water, but she'd seen a duck in the water. So yeah, be aware that they might be scared of just simple things. So entry will be discussed, which is the best place to enter and why that's the best place to enter. But also be aware that, slide-in entries and compact jumps may need to be arranged at, off a pontoon. And the compact jumps, especially, the water may not be deep enough to be able to do it. So if you can't find a spot that's actually safe enough to do that, don't worry about doing it, really. And explain to the students why you wouldn't do it, because of the water's not deep enough to do it. So it's important to be flexible with your lesson plans. You'll need to adapt, to different conditions, whether it be high tides, winds, strong currents, cold or hot weather. And the TIC will be able to assist with, day-to-day programs. And for the lower levels, it might be just, you might only achieve for them to fit a life jacket and have a play with the child in the shallow water. We do encourage them all to wear shoes, so for them to have shoes on and a life jacket, and they just feel the difference between open water and pool. Then, you might be able to move them out to a bit deeper to be able to do some sculling with a life jacket on. Or even just moving through the water with a life jacket, because remember, some students may not have had a life jacket on ever in their life as well, and it is different to move around, as you will all know that. But just remember that they don't always know that. So, and if you only, after 5 days, if you only get them to be able to balance and walk in the water and get themselves up from falling over with a life jacket on, that's, you've done a good job. Be proud, because it's better than no experience and them not having that balance in the water, of being able to walk in the water. With the higher levels, it's still important for them to have a life jacket on as part of the lesson. Particularly, I think it's good for the first day of the lesson, because it gives you a way of monitoring what level that student is sort of really at now that they're in the open water, compared to a pool if they haven't been in open water before. And it also, makes them realise how to actually put on a life jacket and take it off and stuff as well. That's a higher level. So the lessons in the open water have more emphasis on survival, swimming and sculling. We do still do, including all the teaching, all the, or cover all the strokes. But there is a bigger emphasis on the survival swimming. So, and all lessons will just, we might have lessons, well, all the lessons actually will develop skills, to hold on to a bodyboard or a boogie board, and And then, you know, that can also be taught, like that the child can grab hold of that as a survival item and a rescue tool, but they're also lots of fun. So they, you know, they're having fun, they're playing, which then takes me that games in the open water lesson, you probably don't need a lot of games because the environment is the game and it changes all the time. So, you know, they're holding onto boogie boards and, you know, they might flip the boogie board and then you flip them back over and that sort of thing. So, which is all teaching them survival stuff as well. On day 4, we get them to wear some clothes in the water. So that, just be mindful, you know, that'll change the movement as well, and particularly if they have got the life jacket on as well. So, yeah, just be aware that other kids, it mightn't make any difference because they might be used to, they might have done it, you know, heaps of times before. And wave surfing, you know, that's lots of fun to do, and teachers and students, I'm sure, will all have fun doing that. But it's also learning a new survival skill. So yeah, there's lots of fun things to do in the open water. And this is just a bit of a note for teachers. So I just wanted to sort of just give a bit of a heads up for teachers that, you know, maybe it may be your first time at an open water venue, and just a few things to help make your, you know, your days more enjoyable, because it is different to the pool. So prior to the program, check out your location. So as Lisa had spoken about, and any, you know, parking restrictions. Be careful on uneven ground. I actually fell over myself at Caruso the other day just because I parked on a slope and then got out of the car and then the gravel was loose and I just went, slide down the slope. Oh my God. So yeah, that was, you know, interesting just to realise that that was just how simple it was. Just, yeah. So yeah, that is one of the obstacles. And for all inland venues, I'd recommend all teachers to wear shoes in the water because it's, you know, those rocks are really sharp, and even though they might not look sharp, they sometimes end up quite sharp just from the pressure on your feet. So it is a good idea to wear the shoes in the water. And if you're a TIC at any of the inland venues, you'll need to make sure that you park your car close to the venue because there's lots of equipment that you might need to unpack and unload. At the beaches, you can actually take it there and leave it, and then it'll be stored at the beach in the cleaners section, usually near the nearest toilet is what Julian has told me. But with the inland waterways, you do actually have to put all the stuff in your car and then take it on, you know, and just cart that around with you for the 3 weeks. So yeah, it's a good idea to also know where your closest toilet and change facilities are, because you're at these inland water venues. There may not be any toilets close by to you, so it might be easier just to come dressed. And a meeting point at the beach, you'll usually have to store your belongings at the meeting point, which will be under the VICSWIM shade on the beach. Don't leave any valuables in your car. You don't really know who's around. At the inland venues, you will store belongings at the meeting point near the flags. We don't have a shade tent for the inland because the ground's just too uneven to be able to put one up. And then, yeah, it's just too hard. But most places do have a natural shade, and there's usually very few members of the public around, so it's pretty safe to leave, you know, your stuff near the flags. We'll have an esky there that you can store a drink bottle. And then, yeah, all teachers will be required to assist with packing up and setting up. Just makes it quicker if everyone can just, you know, help. And you do actually get paid to do that. So every day you'll meet your teacher in charge, discuss emergency plans and complete a risk assessment. Most beach venues are run at patrol beaches, so the Surf Life Saving Club is your first point of call for emergencies. But they'll also assist you with day-to-day conditions, which you will have to note on your risk assessment plans. Inland venues complete the daily risk assessment as well, but there will be no lifeguards. So there will be a laminated emergency flyer that will clear directions of the location where we are and other important information. So then if need be that, you know, both teachers are needed for the first aid, it'll be, be able to be handed over to a parent and say, okay, here's our coordinates to where we are, or this is the, first aid procedure. So, and a TIC will need to have their phone close by for, like, in case of emergency at the inland waterways in particular. It's important to, collect rubbish as you get there, know the evacuation points. If it's windy, secure equipment, and just be aware at these open water venues that water levels may change, clarity may change overnight. So just be aware of any changes. And at the beach, it may be extremely busy with holiday makers, so you'll need to be mindful of public sharing the space in the water, selecting appropriate activities where you can keep the class together. Inland waterways are usually not, there's usually heaps and heaps of room, and it's not super busy like you get at the beach, and it's quite easy to work around the public, so they're not usually a problem. So yeah, and the other thing is just to check the weather before you come out. Like if it's cold, strongly advise teachers to, at outdoor venues, to wear a wetsuit or thermal, rashy or pants, because it's different when you're not moving around much. Even you might be used to swimming in cold water, it's different when you're not moving around much for those lower groups. Another thing is, I would say, is please refrain from telling students how freezing cold it is before they get in, because yes, it might be cold, but if you go saying, oh, it's freezing, then you put them off before you even got in the water. And yeah, it's just that, yeah, whole positive talking will just help it go a little bit better. And it's okay to say it's a warning, but it's not a professional look really either if you're saying, well, I'm freezing. And if you know it's going to be cold, bring warm clothes, brings more than you think you're going to need. And a warm drink like a thermos is also really good after exiting the cold water. Any of those big swim coats are great, particularly if you're traveling from one venue to another. But then by the other hand, if it's going to be super hot, so have a look up, if it's going to be really hot, make sure you've got yourself lots of water and know if there's somewhere at your venue where you can fill up water. Bring a hat that is provided to you on first day. Sunscreen will be provided, make sure you reapply. And like maybe there might be a need for insect repellent or something like that. So I think that's about me, unless anyone's got any questions. Or Lisa, have you got anything?
No, that's great, Very well. I'm going to put it out for questions and answers for everyone in a few minutes. I actually just want to go through a bit of a checklist before we do to make sure we've covered everything. You did touch before and mentioned that there could be incidents and emergencies. So I just wanted to reiterate to everyone again, it's part of your policies to read in Employment Hero, but if an incident of any sort occurs, be it at a pool venue, open water venue, whatever it might be, there are incident reports to complete. Obviously with pool venues, those venues will have their own incident reports as well as needing to do one for VICSWIM. But for the open water and inland waterways, you please be aware of the emergency procedures and your risk management policies, and make sure that if you don't know the answers to any questions you might have, that you get those answers before day one of the program. So I just want to go through a bit of a checklist with you all before we answer, or before you guys ask some questions for us to answer. I am mindful of the time and we don't want to go too long here. But if we look at the checklist here, and I believe this has been sent out to everyone, okay, everyone's received their letter of offer and should have signed it by now and sent it back to us, okay? If you haven't, and you're on this call or you're on this webinar today, please get in touch with us, because obviously we need that information. All this is going to affect the way you get paid down the track. So you need to have uploaded all your qualifications, your CPR, your swim teaching qualification. You're working with children. I'm going to reiterate that again. It doesn't matter how old you are. You need to have a current working with children's check. You need to complete the swim test health check self-assessment, which I believe that you need to download or print off before, and then answer it and then upload it back into the system. And again, we need your COVID vaccine certificate, pool lifeguard if required, community surf or surf bronze if required. And I'm just going to put it out there again now. We're putting about a dozen teachers through the community surf qualification. We have funding available for that, and ARV, the Aquatic Recreation Victoria, behind the VICSWIM program, are covering that cost. If there are any teachers out there who are interested in teaching open water or inland water in the coming years and would like to expand on their experience, please make sure you let us know, because there are opportunities for you, and not only to teach in that environment, for us to help you get the necessary qualifications to work in that space. And it certainly is, you know, the open water and inland waterways are an area that we're looking to expand over the years. It's so important. So many drownings happen in that area, and we really want to reach as many kids and remote communities as possible with this program. So those sort of qualifications and upskilling and learning opportunities are there for you. Just again, if you are interested, send through an email, info@vicswim.com.au, and we can follow that up for you. So just keep going a little bit through the checklist at the moment. So these are the policies and procedures that you all need to read and sign off that you've read them. The code of conduct for teachers, we want you to read your heat policy, the procedures, the medical condition policy, the outdoor pool and cold weather policy, okay, your reporting of incidents, your risk information, your staff incident reporting, your supervision policy, your COVID safe plans, the child safety standards, your COVID safety standards. You can read about your remuneration policy there. And then most important, come back there. Most important is completing the training module questions that there will be a link in the teacher handbook. So I'm going to throw it out to you for some questions, but I just want to reiterate, please, everyone, make sure you jump onto Employment Hero. Make sure that you follow through that checklist and that you've completed everything on there, and that you read the teacher handbook, answer the questions, and please get in touch with us if you have any further questions or we haven't covered anything here today. But all your lesson plans, all the level criteria, all that information is all available to you in Employment Hero. So since we've got you all muted, I guess we're going to put it to the chat for any questions. So some of you have asked about getting into open water training. So yes, we can help you out there. Like I said, send through an email and we can send you information on that. The health and fitness assessment form that someone's asked about, that is available in Employment Hero, and it's called a health and fitness assessment form. You need to download it, complete it, and then upload it again, the completed version. Have we got any other questions? Am I missing any, or am I just seeing them as they come through? If you remember when someone is asking about where to download and upload the forms, all those policies, if you have a look at the document section in Employment Hero. If you remember earlier in the slides, we went through your profile where you put in all your personal information and your bank details. And then there's a section called Files, and under Files, you've got Documents and all the policies. So you'll find all that information there. If you still can't find it after you've jumped on again, then give us a call here at the VICSWIM office on 92713800, or send through an email, info@vicswim.com.au, and we'll send you a direct link for that. Some of you have said you haven't got a letter of offer. Again, please email us and we will follow up on that. But every teacher that's on this webinar now should have received their letter of offer by now and had all that information in. If you're having trouble logging in because your password isn't right, you can reset your password. Someone's saying they never received a reset email. Try again. If you don't get it through, again, email us and we will look into that. Okay, so just remember the most important email address for you probably today is info@vicswim.com.au, so that we can follow up on those questions. All right. All right, somebody has said that they can't log into the booking.vicswim website because it recognises them as a parent. if you will need to set up a separate email address. So if you have a profile as a parent with one email address, you'll need to set up your teacher profile with a different email address. It won't allow you to use the same email address for two profiles. Unfortunately, there's a limitation there. So hopefully you would have a second email address to do that. If not, we'll have a look and see what we can do from you at our end by deleting your profile as a parent, if we can do that. Just trying to, somebody asked about uploading teacher questions. I'm not sure that you need to upload. You just need to answer the modules that are in there. You don't need to upload anything. You actually just download that, answer the questions and submit it. We've still got questions about Employment Hero and the health and fitness assessment. Okay, you need to download the form, fill it in, and then upload it again after it's completed. I know it's a little bit clunky, guys, but that's the limitations we have, so you need to do that. Somebody's saying they're not recognised on the VICSWIM portal. Every teacher that has, even if you're a new teacher, you should all have a profile set up for you on the VICSWIM portal. So I'm just going to reiterate that if it's an individual question, like you haven't got a profile or you're having trouble downloading a particular thing, please come back to me, or come back to us at the info at VICSWIM so we can look at that individually. Somebody's asking about the class list. So the class list that we showed you again earlier in the VICSWIM portal, as a teacher that your classes have been allocated to you, you only have access to those classes to print. So you'll be able to go to the venue that you've been allocated, and you'll be able to print off a class list for every time slot that you've been allocated for that day. Yeah, I would recommend that you do that probably, given that some people may still book in up until a day before. You may even have some people, if there are vacancies in your classes, book in. Bookings are open to the families up until the Thursday of the week of that program. So in other words, on the Monday you start your program, if you've got 1 or 2 gaps and families want to join on the Tuesday or Wednesday, they can actually join your classes up until the Thursday. So I recommend that you print your classes probably only the day before or 2 days before, because they could change. And then you may want to reprint them again after day 1 or day 2, because what you're all going to do on the first day is assess your classes and your kids. If there is room to move kids around because you feel that they would be better in different levels, and this is something that as teachers you'll discuss with your regional coordinators, after we move the kids around, you're going to want to reprint your class list so that they show the right kids in the right classes. Someone's saying that the links aren't live in the teacher handbook. I will go back with our IT people, our technical people, and have a look at that, and we'll make sure that they are live by this time tomorrow. So if you have any issues with any of the documents in Employment Hero, please come back to us again at info@vicswim.com.au, because we will need to follow that up and make sure. I mean, I've gone in and checked all the links and they've worked at my end. So if they're working for me, they should work for you guys. But again, any issues that you're having with uploading or downloading documents or completing your policies and procedures and anything pre-programmed, or printing your class list, anything at all, okay, with your contracts, with any of your qualifications, please get in touch. Okay, and we will help you do that. Somebody's asked about filling out the timesheet for today. So you go into Employment Hero, okay, follow the process that we went through earlier, add a timesheet. You're putting in the date. Today is the 15th of December, and the webinar here started at 1 p.m. We'll be finishing up now, 2:15, and you'll get paid for that time. So that should be fine. You shouldn't, if you have any problems again with your timesheets in Employment Hero, please be in touch. There's another good question about the 5-minute break included in your daily total. Yeah, you get paid for those 5-minute breaks between classes, guys. The 5-minute break across the board has been put in simply to allow time to hand kids over between classes. so that from the time one class finishes and the next class time starts, you're not wasting kids' learning time, so that the parents aren't going to come back to us and say, I paid for a 30-minute lesson and only got 25 minutes. So yes, to answer that question, you all get paid for every 5 minutes you have between every lesson. So if you're rostered on starting at 9, your first class goes from 9 to 9:30, you got a 5-minute break, your next class starts at 9:35 to 10:05, another 5-minute break, and you are paid for all those 5-minute breaks. Someone's telling me here that the timesheets have been disabled in Employment Hero, so we're going to have a look and make sure that we'll have a look at that and make sure that that is fixed within the next 24 hours if that's the case, because you should all be able to do that. Some of you have asked about reducing class sizes for kids with disabilities. I didn't mention it earlier, but I'll touch on that now. We actually we're running a pilot program this year for the first time. We've got 2 venues running individual one-on-one classes for children with disabilities. So the class ratio set for the VICSWIM program is set for maximum of 4 for A to B, 6 for C and D, and 8 for E, F and G across all pool, open water and inland venues. So we're not going to adjust those ratios. Those ratios have been set according to risk frameworks and risk management plans that have already been put in place. But you can certainly recommend anyone with disabilities or special needs that you feel need the one-on-one and don't fit into a group learning environment, that we have those options available, and that program I have no doubt will grow in the coming years. But there is a pilot program this year in Braybrook and Laverton, and again, anyone interested in working in that space, just get in touch with us, because obviously it's a very valuable area, and we'll certainly help you out in getting those qualifications. Somebody's asked about the inland water, uploading the extra certificates. Those of you that did the course this week, Marie, I've got all that information from LSV and taking care of that. Okay, so you don't need to. But yeah, again, we want you to upload all your quals. If you have any trouble uploading them, we will do it for you. And if you haven't done so, you will continue to get reminders until you do so. Guys, I think on that note, unless there's any further questions, we're going to call it a day. I say thank you all for attending. We really appreciate the turnout today. And this webinar has been recorded, and we will make it available for you all to watch if you want to watch it again, for obviously those that weren't here today. And I am here for you to answer any of your questions. We've got a full team here at VICSWIM. Raina, who all the teachers have come in contact with because she sends out your contract, is available, and we have a lot of other helpers, Santa's elves around to make sure this program is ready to go on the 3rd of Jan. So we've got about 2.5 weeks now until day 1. I'll take this opportunity to wish you all a very happy and safe Christmas, and whatever festive celebration that you celebrate. Happy New Year to everyone. Good luck for day 1. We're really excited. It's going to be the biggest and best program ever. And good luck to everyone. Let's go VICSWIM. See you guys.